We commonly hear the words, Monday na naman. 5 araw na naman tayong makikipagbunok sa trabaho. This is a common cliche that every employee in the Philippines tend to say. Truth to be told, that majority of the days in a week will be spent for working. And yes, work life is indeed challenging. However, we're also wondering, is there something we can do to alleviate our suffering? And yes, there is. And that is the 4-day work week. As an introduction for this documentary, I will be laying down some facts about the 4-day work week before we jump into the main point of our video.
The 4-day workweek is an arrangement where a workplace or school has its employees or students work or attend school over the course of 4 days per week rather than the more customary 5. This arrangement can be a part of flexible working hours, and is sometimes used to cut costs.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But let me just ask, pwede bang wala ng Friday? Or I may say, no more Monday na naman dahil Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday ang pasok. Sa mga susunod na bahagi ng ating video, makikita natin kung ano ba ang kahalagahan, ano ba ang tulong at ano ba ang magiging importansya kung magiging standard ang 4-day work assignment ng bawat empleyado. Ano nga ba ang negatibong epekto o ang tinatawag nating cons and pros ng tinatawag nating 4-day work week?
The whole country is now put to a test. As the Philippine government exerts effort to fight the spread of COVID-19, nearly all companies in Metro Manila are under work-from-home and flexible work arrangements. There are a few recommendations to the House of Representatives that have been made permanently shorten the work week here in the Philippines, even after the pandemic is over. Under existing laws, for private sectors, an employer can require an employee to report to work for at least 6 days a week, giving employees only full day of rest in the same week. For government employees, at least 40 hours a week is required. My question is, do you think a 4-day work week should be implemented for both the government and private sector? What do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of implementing this work arrangement?
For office-oriented companies, this scheme may be adopted easily since it will not affect their day-to-day performance, but for the service industry like health, energy, water, and others. So it should be implemented in both government and private sector. It depends on the industry. Advantage and disadvantages may vary. I think one advantage is that the cost of transportation of an employee will be lessened. Disadvantages to the scheme would be the probability of work impediment.
The 4-day work week should be implemented with both the government and the private sector. As a government employee, I think it is better to implement the 4-day work week because it gives the employees more time to their family and more rest for themselves. Also, it is advantageous to the employees because it raises their morale and it keeps them work-life balance. It might prove disadvantageous if the workloads stack up and the employees will have to cope up with the deadlines and other things that might impede their work to serve the public.
For me, it should be implemented on both. As an employee for a private company, this will pave the way for more quality time with my family and more hours of rest. It may be seen as a disadvantage that working in a 4-day workweek schedule could lead to a shorter time before deadlines and rush work and stuff.
As a private employee, I'd of course like to have a 4-day workweek schedule. It means more time to keep my mind off work, and it relates to my mental wellness as well as physical health. The only thing that bothers me about this setup is if it will be helpful to the company. In the off chances that it will affect the company's performance, it may lead to salary decreases or laydowns.
Based on the research of Juliet Score, an economist and sociologist at Boston College, employees have more free time and have lower stress, a better work-life balance, better health and well-being, and more time for family and community. Some companies also see a reduced rate of resignations, sick leave, and absenteeism, a higher quality applicant pool, and lower healthcare costs. If the said proposal goes ahead, do you think workers will also feel lower stress and better well-being? In what ways?
Yes, employees will welcome more time for themselves and more time for family.
Yes, I think it will help the employees. In what ways? There are so many ways that it will help the employees, but I think one of the most important things is that they will have a work and life balance, and also they will have more time to spend with their family. I think spending time with your family resets your stress from work that you might take home. So having more time at home and having more rest will keep their stress levels to the minimum.
It depends on the person, but for the most part, I think yes, it will. More hours of rest and sleep, I'd want that.
Of course, longer off days would be ideal, especially for people who love to travel and be spontaneous.
Based on some surveys, when an employee came back from a vacation leave, a huge and daunting workloads accumulated from this the employee are on a day off are expected. It was said that most employees are having a hard time dealing with these huge email and workloads that have been accumulated. If ever the 4-day work week will be passed and in effect to every company, do you think that the same issue mentioned will also occur in this instance?
Finishing up workloads based on new arrangements will be tough, but I think it can be handled accordingly.
In the government, uh, emails and other workloads always stack up. But if a 4-day work week would be implemented, it won't change anything because the government has always been a performance based, and it will not affect the employees because a 4-day work week and a 5-day work week with a 1-day difference would mean nothing if set deadlines are always met.
It may be hard not to have accumulated workloads when off days will be longer, but people can adapt to this change. That's what I think, especially as the Filipinos.
If planned correctly, I think there would be no problem with the workloads.
For companies with work from home arrangements, how will a 4-day work week affect the daily workload of employees who work at their homes considering the time they will be away during off days?
People who work from home tend to work longer than usual. So I think it will hardly have any effect on their efficiency.
In a work from home arrangement, a 4-day work week will always work out because they have enough time to complete their deadlines or set deadlines and other processes that they have to do. Also, this will work out in the end because it will raise the morale and boost their confidence during working hours as it will as they will have lesser days to go to work or to work in their homes.
Most work from home arrangements are performance-based. So even if there are shorter working hours or days, employees will still meet the working requirements set by the employers.
Work from home arrangements are made based on getting the job done in the comforts of their home, so I think it will not affect their performance.
Rated as one of the slowest internet connection in the world and in Asia, there were also geographical areas in the country that is struggling with their poor internet connectivity. How do you think it will affect the efficiency of their performance, knowing that the internet connection may affect their productivity, especially when home internet connections are slower than the corporate internet connections?
Some companies aid employees regarding internet connections, and that can be seen to counter the problem with internet connections.
I think that slower internet connections may or may not affect the work from home arrangement, especially in a 4-day work week. I think that the companies should find a way to, to detect employees who have slower internet connections at their homes, so they can transfer them on site and work properly, as to not impede or as to not stop their work from or, or or for the internet not to stop their work.
Internet is one of the many problems that work from home arrangements face. I think it's fine to say that these problems should be addressed by the management rather than the employees.
I think companies who allow work from home arrangements always include in the requirements a good internet on their home premises.
Alright, there you have it. A very insightful and meaningful answers we got from our participants for today. Once again, thank you so much to Mary, Jessa, Eli, and Mariano for being supportive and collaboratively sharing their thoughts for our today's topic, the pros and cons of having a 4-day work week on both private and public sectors. Truly, it will still be a very, very long discussion, and it will really take time to address issues and acknowledge the benefits of having this kind of workaround setup. One key takeaway here is, as Filipinos, we are very adaptable, resilient, and it is evident especially these past 2 years where the world are in the midst of the pandemic COVID-19. Despite these drastic events, we have been very flexible, been open to different work setup changes, as well as the willingness to adapt to new ways and strategies just to cope with the timely pandemic of COVID-19. Indeed, having 4-day work week has both advantage and disadvantages, but let me highlight some that were mentioned by our participants. In terms of disadvantages, it was shared that there would be a challenge in terms of discussion as to whether the salaries of every employees will remain the same, especially those under the categories of hourly salaried employees. There would also be a need to further study as to whether the companies will afford to have their employees to only work on a lesser days and to ensure that they deliver with their full capacity, or what we mostly refer to as full-time equivalent or FTE. And of course, how will it affect everyone's efficiency? Moreover, regarding those employees under work from home setup, a challenge in terms of internet connections, who will shoulder the payment of these type of bills, and what are the contingency and business continuity plans will be in place. Would it be on a full-time office setup, work from home setup, or something we call as hybrid, which is a combination of both? Lastly, for the disadvantages, what would happen to the office spaces that were being rented out by the employers, and how much the costs and expenses that this kind of workaround setup would be charged and need to be considered. Moving on the brighter side, as to the advantages, employees will have an additional rest day where they can spend with their families and loved ones, as well as doing their hobbies and what they love to do. If the work from home setup will push through, the employees' expenses with regard to food, especially the transportation, will definitely have a huge impact on the part of the employees. Some important note to consider as well is the anticipated increase in stability of mental health, as it will really have a significant decrease in terms of work burnouts and work stress level. there would also be a possible increase on better attrition rates, as it tends, assumingly, that most of the employees would love this kind of setup. These are just handful of series of advantages and disadvantages of having a 4-day workweek setup. Acknowledge that this would still be a long discussions, further study need to be considered, but all in all and in conclusion, this is something that is very interesting to have, and hopefully in time there will be a concrete plan and solution to some of the issues that we just tackled. Once again, this has been your team, your friendly collaborative friends, and we will see you on our next topic where there is no questions left unanswered and any issues will never be a problem. See you next time. Bye!